What up, y'all? What up? Let's see if we are live. Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. We are going to be discussing UFC 327. I'll be jumping around a little bit because I'm not going to get into the whole card. There were some super exciting fights from the Gen Pop perspective. And then there was some very high-level details happening from our perspective in some fights, and then other fights I could not care less about. And this may be a little bit unpopular. I could not care less about the Josh Hokett-Curtis Blaydes fight. Although, you know what? You know we dope. You know how they say, like, well, those of y'all who are watching who are not from the States, it's legal to have pharmaceutical advertising in the middle of shows. Like, kids can be watching cartoons and you'll see some pharmaceutical advertisement in the middle of the cartoon now, or on the commercial break. Now, it would be dope if Motrin advertised in the middle of the rounds in that Josh Hokett-Curtis Blaydes fight, because god dang, that was not much good technical work, but I can understand how Gen Pop would be really about that. Talking about Yuri and Curtis Blaydes a little bit today. Yuri and Carlos Ulberg. Good work from both guys. And then Yuri, wasn't minding his P's and Q's, was trying to do that, close range. I don't know what you call it, but just wasn't minding his P's and Q's inside that boxing range. However, prior to that, we saw a lot of really good work from Yuri in shutting down one of Carlos's main tools, which is that lead hand. Now, highly recommend those of you guys who are watching here on the Patreon. It's linked in the description below. There is a free study. It is some 43 minutes long, all about Carlos Ulberg. Tons of work on his lead hand game, and that is vital when you are when you're looking at the Carlos Ulberg and Yuri fight, because Ulberg has a really good lead hand. I'm not going to say it's the highest level, but it has a lot of great details behind it. Now, the way that Yuri was able to shut that lead hand down, you got to give it to him. You got, look, not to say that his entire performance wasn't flawless, but the things that he did to shut that lead hand down, I actually just put a study out yesterday discussing it. That one is for the members only. You guys can sign up on the Patreon to view how Yuri was able to do that before he started kind of going in guns blazing and got stopped. However, let's talk about the lead hand for a little bit. First thing is first, the level changes with the lead hand are a problem. Level changing, by the way, with your lead glove is not, and I'm going to do it like this, is not just lead glove going up and down like this. Lead glove going up and down, and at the end, a little hook forward like that. Now, that seems like, what does that matter? That is super important. Why? Because when you are establishing the lead glove, you need to be able to let them know, hey, when I come up, there's a threat, and when I come down, there's a threat, meaning a jab threat to the head and a jab threat to the body. And Ulberg does that beautifully. How was Yuri able to shut it down? There was a few things that he did, but one of them is simply reaching out and touching that lead glove. Now, when you reach out and touch that lead glove, there's always this battle for air superiority between two athletes, especially in the feeling out process, so usually the first round of the fight. And what do I mean by that? If both gloves are meeting in the center, that means both guys are kind of 50-50. However, if this guy is reaching out and then this guy stuffs that lead glove, that means that the stuffer here is going to be taking up more of that airspace in between the two athletes. And Yuri did a really good job with that. And when you do that, you take away their jab in order to hit you. You take away their jab in order to test their range. Because in order for me to test my range, I have to be able to extend that lead glove. If you don't allow me to extend that lead glove, can't really test my range as well. We show a segment on that post-fight study, the members-only one, where Carlos is trying to set up a low kick, but Yuri is able to stuff that range, and we see the low kick is no longer a clean shot just because he's not able to get his range. Now, that was really, really high-level work from Yuri. Where he starts falling apart is where, and I don't know what this is, maybe it's that whole samurai shtick, this and that and the third. Those of you guys who know me, I don't rock with any of that. I don't like that stuff. I don't like this whole Bushido code, samurai, this, that, and the third. That's all marketing for me. That's all gen pop nonsense. And at best, it's marketing. At worst, it's going to make you believe that you can do some dumb stuff, and then you get clipped like Yuri did. So I could not care less about any of that type of stuff. And when you start buying into that type of thing and try to sit there right in someone's boxing range, and you try to sit there and throw down, and you get clipped with that big hook, and you get slept, well, I hope you enjoyed all that samurai Bushido code stuff, because you just lost out on a win bonus. So, again, that's my thoughts on it. You guys let me know in the chat if you think I'm crazy and I'm disrespectful because samurai Bushido code that happened hundreds of years ago is somehow relevant today. But that's my thoughts. Anyways, now the one thing, let's talk about from a technical perspective. The reason I bring that up is, if you notice when Yuri is in that type of vibe and he's doing that herky-jerky type, like this type of motion, the rear hand is usually low. So he's kind of in this karate type position here. And a rear hand that is low against a high-level check hooker, it's not going to work out too well for you. It's not going to work out. Now, I say this to say there were times that his rear hand was low, but he had options, which is coming underneath of that counter hook from Oberg. However, this is the issue for with throwing caution to the wind and trying to get all hyped in front of someone like that. That presence of mind wasn't there to be able to come underneath that shot. He just thought, you know, yo, I'm gonna try to finish this and rush in. And again, unfortunately, it didn't go his way. Now, look, I'm saying all this. Who knows what Yuri was thinking? But it sure looks like he was on that type of vibe and getting a little bit hyped up. And that type of stuff is real dangerous because it can leave your defenses lacking a little bit. And look, even clearly a guy on one leg, if they can generate that power on that left hook and drop you, well, that's the fight. That's the name of the game. So you got to be super careful in that type of game. But again, pay attention and look, watch some of Yuri's past fights, and you can see that rear hand drop. It's a common thing in his stance, and again, just didn't wind up working out for him. But low kicks were doing great. I think the smarter path would have been to stay on that low kick game. On an obviously already compromised knee of Oldberg, but if onlys and buts, right? So next, I want to talk about Aaron Pico. Aaron Pico showed probably one of the more technical performances of the entire evening. Pitbull's a good bit older now. However, the principles that Pico showed were on point. And look, I am saying this, I've been saying this for a minute. By the way, guys, tap in. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw it in the chat. Thank you guys for pulling up, by the way. I know I'm still kind of working out the kinks with the YouTube lives, but appreciate y'all's patience with all the technical issues. Now, Aaron Pico versus Pitbull. Pitbull playing excellent counterfire. Now, Pico, and by the way, forgive me if there's background noise, y'all. Just kind of It's the only place I can play these lives. But Pico forced a counter fighter to go first. Now, that didn't mean it was always Pitbull punching first. However, Pico throws throwaway offense in order to get Pitbull to commit, and then Pico moves off of that committed offense. And this is day one work against a counter fighter. This is how you ought to play it. Now, the work from Pico shows so much improvement from his previous performances. Defense was way cleaner. He did a much better job not being in the same position when he after he was done firing as when he was firing. So when you're firing, especially against a high-level counter fighter, you have to get your work. And then even if it's not your feet moving you, you have to get your work and then get your head to a different position. You cannot get your work off and then keep your head in that same position, because a high-level counter guy is going to defend. Wow. So you cannot allow that. And Pico did an excellent job getting his head off. Now, sometimes it set him up for shooting on the legs. Sometimes it set him up for further striking. One of the ones that I really like, and I believe this is a there's a clip-free version of this on the Patreon. Again, guys, anytime I mention any of the Patreon studies, that link is in the description below. You guys can check that out. Now, I believe there's a free version of it clipped of Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard, and I talk about Duran being in the kitchen. Guys, watch that study on Patreon and then rewatch Aaron Pico versus Pitbull. This was beautiful game from Pico, and he understands the importance of getting that head in the kitchen, and we see the possibilities of work from there. We see the head can go into the kitchen and then shoot to the legs. The head can go into the kitchen and then come up with a big hook that Pitbull's not able to see. So a lot of times people say like, oh, hit and not hit, get hit and fire from where they can't see you. And fire from where they can't see you often means, in most people, when they refer to it, it's creating some sort of angle and then firing from your opponent's side. So if someone is firing on me this way and I'm staring like this, I can't really see that shot as well. Now, that's an excellent way to create an angle. However, there is another place from where you can fire on someone and they can't see you. Where is that? It's with your head in the kitchen. When the head is right here and all the shots coming up from underneath you, it's really difficult to see that. Now that y'all understand that, again, check out some of the work from Roberto Duran on the Patreon so you guys can see the examples of like the highest of the high levels playing that. Then go ahead and check out Pico's fight with Pitbull again. He played a lot of good game off of that. Next, guys, is Pico's defense. And look, a lot of folks are going to talk about the body work, excellent body work. A lot of folks are going to talk about the, specific hand combinations and whatnot. All really, really good work. I think it's great. What I think is so important, though, because Pico put himself in some really tough positions because of his defense sometimes. And I think he really cleaned up the defense and he allowed his feet to move with his defense. I think that's so important because you need to, especially if you're dealing with someone that is trying to chase you down with offense, you have to understand when to take one step back, understand when to take one step back and then one off towards your right. And Pico did an excellent job. Instead of staying here in the pocket, I'm going to take a step back and parry, and then take a step back and catch, and take a step back so I can have that distance from you to, one, see your shot, but two, have a little bit of distance so I can dip my head here. When I can dip my head, now I'm closer to the shots, and I'm making you freak out about trying to run forward to chase me with your offense. So a great example of this was we saw Pitbull wanted that counter right hand. So Pico would throw the jab, and Pitbull wants to throw that counter right hand over top of it. When that counter right hand came in, we saw Pico slipping to the inside of it at times. And what that does is that, again, that puts you closer to being in the kitchen. You guys check out, again, that Roberto Duran study in the Patreon, where when you are in the kitchen, one, you got offensive options from there. You can strike on the inside, things like that. But it also makes the opponent much more hesitant. Why? If I threw a big bomb at you guys and y'all got your head inside of my bomb right here, this close to my tits, I don't want you that close to me. You taking away tons. I can't punch you like this, right? And now you have me fully overextended off of my right hand bomb, and your head is right here. I am going to pull everything back to try to frame you away, to try to create a little bit of space. In that time, you can start setting up your offense. You can start shooting on the legs, et cetera, and so forth. And guys, watch this fight again and pay attention to that, because I think, again, that was like one of the most technical parts of that stood out to me. There was tons of good technical work from Pico. And look, shouts to Pitbull. He was, what is he, 39? And he's looking, I mean, look, he still looks good, but the new generation is coming up, and Pico did his homework. And this is something that is so not common, but you see it, seeing guys improve. Unfortunately, it's actually not as common as it should be at the highest levels. But we saw Pico took some L's, and he's making sure to polish up that part of his game, so he doesn't have to fall into those same patterns. Pardon me, y'all, while I take my medicine. By the way, patreon.com/boring breakdowns, linked in the description below. You guys get access to all of the long form work. Depending on whether there's enough interest, I will be breaking. Unfortunately, guys, I can't put the UFC footage on here because I'm already a little bit in the doghouse on the Instagram account. I got one more strike left and my account gets taken down. So I have to be a little creative in the type of footage I use. But actually, I'm very curious. You guys tap in the chat. Let me know because some folks have been asking for some bag work. Some folks have been asking for some footwork type game. But let me know, tap in the chat if that's something that you would like to see. Now, pardon me, I forgot to take my medicine. It's just coffee, y'all. So, lastly, I want to discuss Paulo Costa and Azamat Murzakanov. So, Costa and Murzakanov, there's something that's really important to consider with the Russian type of game. So, the Russian, and again, I'm being stereotypical when I say that, right? But the Russian footwork is that dart in, dart out type footwork. And Murzakanov is a problem when he's going forward. He even put Costa in some pretty rough situations. Now, one thing about Murzakanov that you have to give to him, he's showing good game by going downstairs, going to that body of Costa. Why? Because Costa tends to kind of pull and straighten up at times. And Murzakanov did what he was supposed to do with going to the body, and he started taxing Paulo. Now, the thing with the dart in, dart out type of style is, and we all know that this fight got stopped, Murzakanov with the arm injury, because he's bracing for the Paulo Costa right kick. When you have a in-out only type style, and I'm not saying he never circles, but much of his game is this in-out type game. When you cannot circle in order to avoid a wide line shot, you're relegating yourself to basically just have to sit here and brace and tough it out and try to put some more smoke on them in response. And that will, as we've seen, will add up. That will add up, y'all. You have to be careful about trying to stay in the pocket and only move forward and back. The simplest way to have addressed it is, as the right kick comes in, I'm just going to circle away from it. It sounds stupid, And it sounds too elementary, but instead of just nonstop dart in, dart out, if you simply circle away, you will probably still take that impact on the arm, but it's outside of the most powerful arc of that kick. So this is something, again, if Azamat Murzakanov is diligent about coming back off of a loss. I believe this is his first one in the pro, so we'll see. It really kind of defines how well you bounce back. If he's good about coming back, he's going to start adding a little bit of that lateral or circular footwork instead of just sticking to that old stereotypical Russian dart in, dart out type of game. Because as we see, and look, who else? Costa did this dang near this a very similar type of game to Roman Kopylov, who not as much darting in, darting out as Azamat showed us, but is very forward moving. And Kopylov really didn't have too many answers for that kick other than to brace for it. Both southpaws, and that right kick was able to tax him. So that type of game is really important. And then also, in order to shut down Azamat's offense, we seen Paulo, same thing, reaching out and capping off that glove. And capping off that glove is so important for multiple reasons, because it doesn't allow Azamat to check his range and get close enough to Paulo. And you now just took away his jab. If every time I jab, I reach the opponent's glove like this, as opposed to clipping the opponent in the face, I'm going to have to figure out ways around it. So Paulo puts up that roadblock and does not allow the jab to start getting off. That's a super important part of the game. What else do we see from Paulo? You guys, if you have any questions, I think I don't really look at notes or anything for this, so I just kind of try to remember as much as I can off the top of my head. There was one really dope segment that off of the dart, Azamat darts back. As he darts in, Costa times it perfectly with the step outside of Azamat's lead foot, and he's able to throw the right kick. So essentially dart out and then dart in, and the right kick is already clipping on that midline of Azamat. So really good work from Costa. Again, Azamat showed some good work as well, and Costa has a little bit of going back to the drawing board in terms of polishing up how he deals with the offense to the body. But all around, there's a lot of fights that I couldn't care less about on this card. I thought there was some cool stuff from Holland and Rude Boy, but can't remember enough of it to actually comment on it. But couldn't care less about the Reyes and Johnny Walker fight. That was a really good piss break for me. And what else on the main card? Oh, like I said, with the Hokit and Curtis Blades, I have nothing really. Not much, but look, I guess from a marketing perspective, and you got to go get those paychecks, people talk about it. So everyone is going to want to see him fight again, and that's that's going to get butts in seats. So I suppose good for them, good for Josh Hokit on playing the marketing game. Just not something that interests me that much. But what were your thoughts on UFC 327, guys? You guys tap in, let me know, comment down below. And again, patreon.com/boring breakdowns. All of the studies that I did mention, most studies I try to clip a free version. You guys can peep it again in the link in the description below. If you would like to support the work that I'm doing, if you guys would like access to all of the long form content that I'm putting out, guys, peep that link in the description. Aside from that, please liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing on the social media channels. It's Boring Breakdowns on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. That is a huge help. And lastly, and criminally underrated, is just telling the homies. telling the homies is so important, guys. If you guys got homies in the gym that could use this type of work, just dropping the name of a study that I put out is a big help. Coach a few weeks ago just hit me up letting me know that he talks about my breakdowns all the time in his classes, and one of his students wound up following me on the Patreon. That's so dope to hear that, guys. It makes it a lot easier for me to put this type of work out there. Again, thank you all so much for pulling up. Comment any questions or thoughts below, and I will catch up with y'all on the next one. Peace.